We're less than 2 weeks away from the NHL trade deadline, and the Edmonton Oilers are in the worst slump of the season. The worst slump since Jay Woodcroft got fired, quite frankly. And here we are again, 2 weeks before, just 2 weeks before the trade deadline. And the other part about it too is we have no idea what the situation is with Evander Kane. We know that he's skating. Reports were that he's skating around 60% right now. It's the first time he's been on the ice since his multiple surgeries. And obviously, Oilers fans haven't seen him since the Stanley Cup final last season, where he was out for a part of that as well. But news coming around is that he might be back sooner than later, and a lot sooner than Oilers fans anticipated. Obviously, thinking it might be the first game of the playoffs, but Cam, a lot of news coming out about Evander Kane this week and his possible availability.
Yeah, one of the challenges right now for those who follow the Oilers and speculating about what they might do ahead of next Friday, March 7th's trade deadline is nobody knows how much salary cap they have to deal with right now. The Oilers have $5,163,894 to get granular, if just about $5.1 million available in cap room. But if they have to activate Evander Kane before the end of the season, even if it's in early April, after the trade deadline, then they have to have that $5.15 million available to fit him in. So if Kane is coming back at some point this season, and the Oilers are hoping to find that out by this weekend, if doctors say, oh yeah, Kane will be back in 2 weeks, then Stan Bowman doesn't have that LTIR room to work with ahead of the trade deadline. But if doctors do deem, oh, Kane's not going to be back until May or early June or perhaps next September, who knows, then Stan Bowman has considerably more salary cap to work with, and then you can see the team making that Matthias Ekholm style big home run trade. But if not, then the speculation is that it's just going to be a money in, money out kind of deal. It's going to be the kind of one where maybe somebody goes on waivers afterwards, or maybe there's a Kasperi Kapanen contract moving the other way to make the money work. It's going to be something small. It's not going to be the John Gibson trade a lot of fans are probably hoping for.
Yeah, and not something that's going to get fans out of their seats screaming quite like the Matthias Ekholm trade did, that's for sure. But the other part of it too is obviously the Oilers are not currently accruing cap either. They have Matthew Savoy in the lineup currently, who's had a good, through all this kind of darkness. That seems like a harsh word considering we're in February and the Oilers are still competing for a division title, but he's been doing well. He's someone they could send down to make some more money up. Kasperi Kapanen, Connor Brown, all have just until the end of the season, they're UFAs. But one name that was brought up as well this week from Frank Saravalli over at Daily Faceoff was the possibility of Trent Frederic becoming an option for Edmonton. So the part about Trent Frederic on the ice that people all like is, as Frank pointed his headline, he's a pain in the ass. Like he's an agitating kind of player, someone who knows how to get under the skin of players, isn't afraid to drop the gloves. I know Dan spoke about it a little bit on Oilers Nation Radio yesterday. Maybe not fighting as much this season as he had the previous seasons, and also too, he's not scoring as much as he did the last 2 seasons. 17 goals, 18 goals in back-to-back years. Now he's only at 8 on the year, which is still a solid total for a guy that has been playing mostly bottom 6 minutes, averaging just shy of 14 minutes a night for the Bruins this season, who looking like they're not going to make the playoffs. The other part that's appealing about Trent Frederic is if Evander Kane wants to come back, he only makes $2.3 million. Get that retained. Possibly even get it retained again if you really wanted to. He's someone the others could fit in their very tight cap window. What do you make about Trent Frederic as a possible addition for Edmonton at the deadline?
This is the sort of addition that we're probably looking at for the Oilers if Evander Kane does come back and it's only $1 or $2 million available, money in, money out sort of deal. You're not going to see a guy with a $5 million cap hit get acquired if Kane's also coming back. Kane coming back would be the Oilers' big mid-season acquisition. And I understand the demand for a guy like Trent Frederic, because you look at Edmonton's bottom 6 forward group and, you guys like Connor Brown, Matthias Janmark, Kasperi Kapanen, these are the kind of players who get sort of criticized by fans for doing cardio out there, skating around, not necessarily contributing a tremendous amount on offense and not also playing physically and getting up in other players' grills. So the Oilers are missing that with Evander Kane right now at a lineup, of course, that physical deterrent guy in the lineup. And Trent Frederic could be that guy, but to me, it doesn't make any sense to go and acquire that guy if Evander Kane is coming back and you can only make one move on top of that. Then if that's the case, then I'd say the Oilers don't have a good enough blue line to go past the March 7 trade deadline without making any kind of addition. I think if Kane's coming back, then you got to find a cheap D-man. I'm probably looking at Anaheim for Brian Dumoulin, the veteran defenseman, because maybe what you do in that situation is you move up Brett Kulak to the second pairing to play with Darnell Nurse, and you're looking for a third pairing D-man to play with Ty Emberson and John Klingberg if he's still around. If that continues, then I think the Oilers are just going to have to get more creative if Evander Kane is coming back. They have to look for those minor patchwork deals, and I think it's better off being on the blue line than up front.
Yeah, Frank put in the article here, this isn't a perfect fit because in reality, Edmonton could use a right shooting fourth line center. Trent Frederic played a lot of center for Boston this season, as well as on the wing. He's a left shot. But that size and element is what they might be seeking. So impossible to completely rule it out. The other teams Frank had as possible suitors were Washington, New Jersey, Toronto, Minnesota, and Vancouver, who are currently on the outside of the playoffs and looking in. Some trade comparables they had in previous years when Colorado acquired Lars Eller for a second-round pick in 2023 from the Washington Capitals. The other one was also from Washington when they traded away Dmitry Orlov and Garnet Hathaway to the Boston Bruins for a first-round pick and second-round pick, a third-round pick. They also acquired Craig Simpson, and there was a bunch of salary retained between themselves and the Minnesota Wild. I think if the Oilers want to take a different approach to things, and I agree with what you're saying, like if Kane's back and you don't have a lot of money, Frederic probably isn't a good option. But if he doesn't come back and it is a night one of the playoffs kind of deal, then like you can have Frederic and Kane if you're a lineup. It really does change the whole dynamic of the bottom six and the physicality that could be built up down there too, along with like a Corey Perry. Like the outlook of the team looks very, very different. But